10 minutes before 8 is the time. Come back to your calls concerning the good news about zero deaths, but some of you concerned that, of course, we still don't know whether we'll press the button for freedom on June the 21st. Mike in Crawley, contagious diseases are not concerned as to whether you follow the rules, whether children have mental health problems, or if you're about to lose your business. I'm sure people would love to have negotiated with the 1918 flu pandemic or the Black Death. I hope we can return to normal soon, but I also hope those who want to start living again do not discover they're actually dying again. Remember the saying, be careful what you wish for. Mark in Lee Green says, delaying the June 21st restrictions might be a way councils and government can keep the LTN, as we know they're a money-generating scheme, not a health matter, and at present they are taking bucket loads of cash through all of these. And one last one, this comes from Australia. Simon, the auctionman in Oz. My wife and I are in Melbourne, Australia. We've just been told we're going to another 7-day lockdown. The state of Victoria includes Melbourne, a population of 6.7 million. We currently have 7 active cases, 2 people in hospital and 0 deaths. Then, Simon, clearly you're shouting, as this is in capitals, the insanity has to end. Let's move to other matters concerning the pandemic and the announcement, as you've heard on the LBC News Bulletin, that there will be a huge injection of cash into tutoring. Details now from Education Secretary Gavin Williamson, who joins me. How will the money be allocated? Good morning to you, Mr. Williamson.
Good morning there, Nick. The money's going to be allocated across the school system. There's £1 billion that's going towards expanding the tutoring scheme. We've already been rolling this out in previous packages that amount to £1.7 billion. But frankly, it's working. We're seeing the current sort of scheme, which is going to be available for 250,000 children, expanded up to 6 million children, so that they can either deliver it through the National Tutoring Programme, which is specialist tutors done remotely, or schools are going to be able to access for money and be able to do it on school premises, maybe with existing teaching staff or bringing sort of additional staff in. So it's a big change, 100 million extra hours of tutoring. And when you go to schools and you talk to children who are doing it, you can see how it benefits. And actually quite well-off parents have known this for a long time, Nick, and that's why they're paid for it. And what we're wanting to do is to expand that advantage to all pupils, that are maybe from disadvantaged backgrounds, but pupils that have just really suffered as a result of a pandemic.
You said earlier, Secretary of State, that you can see that it's working so far. How? Where is the evidence that shows that this investment is paying dividends?
Well, the evidence goes to show that for 2 months' worth of lost learning, a session of small group tutoring that we've been rolling out and we're massively expanding actually delivers 3 to 5 months' worth of catch-up. And we've been looking very closely at the evidence of this and how it's impacting on children, especially children from the most, some of the poorest backgrounds. So it really does deliver. This is why we're making this extra big investment. But on top of that, Nick, we can all think of those amazing teachers that have impacted on our lives, and teacher quality is very important, and that's why we're expanding the amount of money that we're spending on teacher quality to drive up the quality of teaching in every classroom across the country.
Are you concerned then about the level of teaching ability in classrooms, Secretary of State?
Well, we've always seen many teachers enter the profession having had just 1 year's worth of training. I don't think that's enough, and that's why we're expanding the early career framework to cover all teachers that have done that initial training, so they're making sure that they get support over an additional 2 years, raising the standard of teaching. I think all of these measures go towards actually ensuring that children getting what they need in the classroom.
Right. But if they only get a year, why don't you change that at the other end of the conveyor belt, as it were? Why don't they have more practical experience or more training before they walk into the classroom?
Yeah. So as, sort of students can either do a 1-year course or they can do a sort of up to a 4-year course as a result of learning to do the teacher training, but many of them do the PGCE route, but we're putting the early career framework around them, so effectively gives them an extra 2 years of support and help while they're in the classroom, and we think that's the best and most effective intervention in order to be able to drive up standards in the classroom.
I mean, the level of expenditure, obviously it's a vast sum for someone such as myself, but when your own Education Recovery Commissioner, as he's known, Sir Kevin Collins, says that £15 billion is needed, and today it's an additional 1.5. You're falling woefully low, aren't you?
Well, we're seeing it as a whole set of interventions, and we recognise that there's going to be more that's needed. When it comes to the issue of time, there's three key areas that we've been looking at, which is tutoring, targeted tutoring, teacher quality and time. And we recognise there's some more work to be done on the time element. I don't think it's right, actually, that you see some schools, and it's only some schools, where children are leaving the school gate at 2:45. I think there needs to be a debate that has to be had as to whether that is enough. And actually, it's not just about the academic, it's not just about English and maths, it's also about the enrichment that children get. I mean, when we were at school, Nick, we had probably an hour for lunch, and it wasn't just spent as an hour eating, but actually we often did many other activities, whether it's football or whether it's cricket, whether it's the different clubs and activities that often went on during the lunch hour. Often this has been squeezed down to half an hour. I'm not sure, I don't feel that this is the right thing to be doing. So I think we need to be doing this extra work to see how we can expand what's available and how that can be done most effectively.
OK. The teachers' reactions are in. The National Education Union says it's paltry. The Association of School and College Leaders calls it hugely disappointing. And the National Association of Head Teachers says it's a damp squib. Were this to be a school report, Secretary of State, you'd have a C+. How do you respond?
Well, it is fair to say that I've never known unions say that we think this is a good amount of money. I think they're inbuilt to always say that they would like some more. But Nick, what we're wanting to do is to deliver interventions that can have an immediate impact. And that's what we've been doing. These are interventions that are going to be impacting on children straight away, immediately. And yes, we've got more work to be done as part of a process, but this is going to be helping children when they're getting back into school.
Okay, just lastly on this, if we've got our sums right, it's about £1 billion then, or plus, for 6 million, is that right, tutoring courses, which works out at about £166 per 15-hour course, or £11 an hour, which is roughly what you'd get for working in a burger bar. Are we going to get crash hot tutors delivering for that amount of money, Secretary of State?
Well, Nick, it's good to see that you obviously got an A star for your maths. Which are invaluable tools.
Indeed. And perhaps now you'd like to answer the question, Secretary of State. We've done the maths. I've had it triple checked by someone far brighter than I, and it works out at about £11 an hour. I don't know necessarily that the nation's top tutors are going to sign up for that, Mr. Williamson.
But what you will also recognise is much of this tutoring will be done in small groups of maybe three children with a tutor. This delivers real benefit, has an amazing impact, and
it's
we're
on
actually
the cheap,
giving
isn't
schools.
It? In all honesty, you're doing it on the. You wanted more money, and Mr. Sunak wouldn't give you more money. That's the reality of this, isn't it, Mr. Williamson?
It certainly isn't something that is, no corners have been cut. We've been rolling out this programme. It's delivering, it's working, it's having an impact on children. We want millions of more children to benefit from it.
We've always dealt
That's why
with
we're
each other
doing
with
it.
great candour. How much money were you hoping to get from Mr. Sunak?
I was absolutely delighted with 1.4 billion.
What was your
delighted.
ask? What were you hoping for?
Well, we were
Considerably
what we're
more.
What we're able to do with £1.4 billion is delivering massive expansion of tutoring, massive expansion in terms of teacher quality. That is going to have a direct
some people might say you've evaded
impact.
the question here. I don't know whether they'd be fair. Did you ask for more in the region of £5 to £6 billion, Secretary of State?
Nick, it's incredibly tempting to sort of get involved in divulging to you private conversations with the Chancellor and the Prime Minister, but I'm going to sort of possibly just sidestep this one, if that's okay.
OK, don't sidestep June the 21st. My listeners are absolutely locked on whether we can enjoy those easing of restrictions. I appreciate we follow data, not dates, but you're at the top table there. What is the sense at the moment within Cabinet, Secretary of State?
Well, there's a sense that there's been really amazing and promising progress that's been made. The rollout of the vaccines is having an impact on everyone's lives. And actually, you're right to say it's about data, not dates, but the vaccines are having an impact in terms of actually reducing transmission, reducing the number of people in hospital. And it's these factors that are going to guide the decision. But we need to continue to urge people to be cautious and to be careful, but most importantly, to get their jab. I'm not sure about you, Nick. You're probably in that age range that they haven't quite opened up to yet, but
you
shortly I want
you
to be...
You. I've had
I
both.
want you to be... I've had my first jab, very much looking forward to my second, and we just urge people to keep doing it. We do have an ability to control this by actually getting vaccinated.
And lastly, what will the impact of, and we all celebrate this news, but I think we need to strike a note of caution. I don't know whether tomorrow we'll be able to say 0 deaths or on Friday, but today it is great news. How does that colour the equation, again, within Cabinet, that we have a 0 death from yesterday? Secretary of State.
It shows that the enormous sacrifices of the British people are starting to really deliver. The fact that the British people have gone out there with verve and gusto and actually got vaccinated when so many other nations have not had that same level of take-up is a real credit. And, it's promising what we've seen in terms of 0 deaths, but we can't be complacent. We continue to be careful, and we've got to make sure that we continue to get vaccinated.
Good speaking with you. Thank you. Enjoy your half-term holiday. I read about it in the Daily Telegraph, looking after the children with you and your wife. I hope it goes well. Gavin Williamson, Education Secretary, appearing here on LBC, where the time is 8:01. News is next.